Hi, I'm Susan, one of the docents here at the Lincoln Park Conservatory. It's Halloween time here, and while you can't come inside, we thought this would be a great time to show you some of the weird and spooky plants that we have growing here at the conservatory. So this is the corpse flower, and it is one of the weirdest plants that we have growing here. The corpse flower is native to Indonesia, and the flower itself is one of the largest ones around. It can be as big as 8 feet tall and 6 feet in diameter, and that's just the flower. The plant itself grows very quickly, as much as 6 inches in a day. Now this tree is about 8 years old. When we put it out here about a year ago, it was probably, about this high, and now you can see how much it's grown in just that short amount of time. Every year, there is a new leaf will shoot up from the base of the plant where there's something called a corm. And the corm is a bulbous structure that grows below the soil line, so you're not able to see it. So the plant will shoot up a leaf that will begin to look like this after a while, and then have 3 other leaves that come off of the original leaf. Now after a number of years, and it's at least 6, and it can be several years more, the plant gets enough energy that it can produce a flower. And what will happen is, instead of a leaf coming out, you will get a structure called a spadix and a spathe that will grow out. And you can see them here. This is the spadix, and this is the spathe. When the flower blooms, it has 2 stages. In the first stage, the female flowers, which are located at the bottom of the spadix, will open up. They will have pollen, and they will emit a smell that smells like rotting corpses. Now, this is not something that most people want to smell, but carrion beetles are attracted to the smell, and they're attracted to the fact that it's warm in there, and they will come from a different corpse flower plant, come inside and get really close to those female flowers and pick up pollen on their bodies. After a day or so, the female flowers will close and the male flowers, which are just above them, will open up. And the carrion beetles are not so attracted anymore once the female flowers close, because the flower starts to lose its smell and starts to collapse in on itself. So the carrion beetles are saying, enough of this, not getting any more, I'm going to leave. And as they leave, they pick up pollen from the male flowers and bring those to the next plant. So it's a really interesting way to cross-pollinate between 2 different plants. So the flower itself is only around for about 2 days. And it smells terrible for at least the first day of that. When you hear about a corpse flower that's opening up, and you want to see it, you have to get there really quickly so you can see it. The other thing is, once the flower dies, it can take decades to get a second flower. So it's very rare. Watch your websites for the Lincoln Park Conservatory and the Garfield Park Conservatory, and if you see that one's coming up, make sure you get over there quickly. The other thing that's interesting is this is related to plants that are more commonly seen maybe in your own houseplants or outside. And those are the philodendron and anthuriums, and we're going to show you what some of those look like so you can see a similar flower structure. All right, so these plants are in the anthurium family, and you can see it has a similar kind of floral structure to what we saw in the corpse flower. It has the long spadix here and the spathe surrounding it, and there are 2 different types of flowers, female flowers and male flowers on this. So you can see how they're similar. The one back here, the white one, is also something that you may be familiar with and you may even have in your home. This is a sensitive plant, and it's one of the most popular plants that we have here at the conservatory. It is actually a shrub, a subshrub, and it can grow up to 18 inches high. You can see it has these very pretty little pink and lavender flowers that look a little bit like powder puffs. Now the interesting thing about the sensitive plant, which is also can be called the touch-me-not plant or the mimosa, is that its leaves are sensitive to touch. Now you can see what happens here as I touch the leaves, even just at the very tip of one of these plants, the leaves will start to fold up, and they will do them from the tip to the base. Now what's happening here is that an electrical impulse is sent from the tip of the plant to the base of the plant, and that causes a chemical reaction that makes calcium ions flow out of the cells of the plant, and also water will come out of the cells of the plant. So the cell walls shrink, and as they shrink, it will fold up the leaves. Now, you may wonder why it's doing this. It's not catching any insects, but what it's doing is protecting itself from small animals that may want to eat this. If the animal comes by and touches the plant, it may be scared by the action of the plant folding up and shying away from the animal. The other thing that it may do is, as it's folding up here, you can look and see this does not look as appetizing as something with full and open green leaves. So it might be something that the animal is less interested in eating. The other interesting thing about these plants is that they close up at night. So when it's time to come back to the conservatory and you want to touch the sensitive plant, be sure you're not doing it in winter in the late afternoon, because if it's dark inside here, you won't be able to see this wonderful reaction. Some of the strangest plants that we have here at the conservatory are carnivorous plants. Now, we all learned in our science class that plants get energy from the sun that they use and convert to sugars through photosynthesis. But plants also need minerals and other nutrients that don't come from the sun. Now, most plants get this from the soil that they're on, but some of them have to get it from insects and other very, very small animals. One of those that does it is the pitcher plant, and we've got some great examples here of a pitcher plant. There's pitcher plants that grow in the earth, and they are usually growing in very acidic soil that you'll find in peat bogs. They're in many states across the United States, and the closest ones that I've heard about are ones that you can find at the Pinhook Bog in the Indiana National Dunes State Park. I've also seen them outside of Oregon and in Washington State. Now, the interesting thing with these plants is that they need to attract insects. So why would an insect be attracted? First of all, if I'm an insect or a fly or something that's flying around up there and I see this beautiful purple and white looking thing, to me it looks a little bit like meat, and it might even smell a little bit like meat. So I'm a little attracted to that. The other reason I'm attracted is that it exerts an aroma that attracts me. So here I am, I'm a little fly, and I come in and I decide I'm going to go down into this little pitcher here, which is why you call it a pitcher plant. And I'm going to try to get some of the water that's in the base of this plant. So once I go in there, I can't really get out. And the reason I can't get out is because the sides of the plant are slippery. They have a wax-like substance on them. The other thing that happens is there are small hairs which are growing inside the plant that makes it hard to climb up the side. So here I am, I'm trapped, I get tired, and I drown in the water that's in the bottom of the pitcher. The water gets in the pitcher through rainfall. So once it's in there, what happens next? The plant will excrete digestive enzymes just like we do when we eat something, when we have saliva in our mouth and digestive enzymes in our stomach. And they will dissolve the insect and get the nutrients from the insect. So you would think that almost all animals are going to want to stay away from the pitcher plant, but there are some that actually cohabitate with it quite nicely. There are species of spiders that will go underneath some of the lips of the plants in the pitcher here and build a little web there. So here they are, and they've got insects flying to the plant because they're attracted to the smell, and they are going to have their little web there, so they have more of a chance of attracting insects that they can have. There are some species of mosquitoes that will plant their larvae inside the water, and then when the larvae hatch, the mosquitoes will fly out. I thought one of the most interesting kinds is one where really big ones, and some of the pitcher plants can get very, very large in diameter, And there are species of frogs, very small frogs, that will live inside the pitcher plant, and they will then catch the insects that are trying to come in. So I think this is a fascinating plant. It is really adapted well to find a way to get the food that it needs and the nutrients that it needs. So this is another one of the pitcher plants. This one is larger, and this is one that grows off of vines, because some of them grow and attract insects because there's no soil or the soil's not good. Some of them are air plants or epiphytes, and so there's no soil at all. So these might be growing, they may spring from tree vines or tree limbs or on rocks, and they have the same general structure. You can see some lovely little hairs here on the stalk, and you can see that this is filled with water, probably from when we were watering the other plants. But that's the water that will drown the insects that happen to come by. One of the other carnivorous plants we have here at the conservatory, and it's usually out during the summer, is the Venus flytrap. It's not here right now, but when you come when we open up again, you'll see it inside this Wardian cabinet, which is a way that we have of keeping some plants in controlled temperature and humidity. Now the Venus flytrap has leaves that are a little bit hollow shaped, and they have little finger-like projections coming off their sides, which you can see here. Now inside, what you can't see here are on the inside of the leaves, there are a lot of very small, very sensitive hair-like structures called trigger hairs. And what will happen is an insect will come in and explore, because like most plants, this one has a nice little aroma that's coming out and attracting them. And they will go inside and check it out. Now the Venus flytrap doesn't slam shut if it's touched once. It has to be touched twice within about 30 seconds before it will slam shut. And they think the reason is, let's say a drop of rain hit it, or a small pebble. That's not going to be much food for the Venus flytrap. So it's waiting until it gets a big enough insect in there so it can get some nutrition. So once the insect is in there, the trap will slam shut. And just like with the pitcher plant, it will secrete some digestive juices. The other thing it secretes are some antibiotic juices, because the little bug will take 5 to 12 days to be totally dissolved and eaten by the Venus flytrap. And they wouldn't want it to get bacteria in it or to rot. So the other thing is, the Venus flytrap is only interested on the inside of the insect. It doesn't want the bones, it doesn't want the scale, it doesn't want the hard shell. So it just is getting the innards out, and it will leave the exoskeleton, or the hard part, as it is. And you can see in this picture, we have a little exoskeleton or shell from some sort of insect that got caught by the Venus flytrap. Now normally, you're out in the wild, and a good gust of wind or a rainstorm will wash this little thing away. But here, in this case, we don't have wind and we don't have rain. So it just sat in here for quite a while, and we were able to get this picture. One of the other plants we have here at the conservatory that I really like, but unfortunately isn't flowering right now, is called the bat flower. And if you look at this picture, you can see why we call it a bat flower. It is native to Southeast Asia, and it has these lovely bracts, these 3 black, dark purple looking things that look almost like bat wings. These are not the flowers, these are just some supports for the flower. The other thing that it has are these green whiskers, whisker-like appendages that shoot out between the bract and the actual flower itself. And they're usually green to whitish and purple in color. The flowers themselves are these little things right here. And when they first come out, they look a little bit like candy kisses. When they bloom, they'll bloom one at a time, and you can see one here that is starting to open. And inside they have 6 stiff stamens that will attract pollinators so that the plant can be fertilized. Now, there's a lot of people that say, why would it grow that way? And scientists don't really know. This doesn't have any special scent. It doesn't have anything special that's attracting insects. So they think that the whiskers and or the little green shoots might help in photosynthesis in shady areas, because they're really sprouting out fairly far out from underneath the tree. But as far as I'm concerned, I don't really care why it did it. I just think it's great to look at and very enjoyable. So when you come here hopefully we'll have a purple bat flower in bloom or a white bat flower in bloom.